What's good, everyone? This is Dr. Darko. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that you're always up to date on the new uploads as well as alerts on this show. The other thing that you can do to help build this community is make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know what you like, what you don't like about the show, and ultimately, let us know who's winning these arguments, because I need to know that I'm beating Renee in these debates. Run the tape. All right, y'all. We are here with Dr. Cedric Dark, author of Under the Gun, an ER doctor's cure for America's gun epidemic. Yo, I got a lot of notes from your book, man. This is a really great book. The best way I can summarize this, let me check my notes right here, is basically you got a mix of personal experience, public health analysis, public suggestions to suggest or to address gun violence in the U.S. I got about like 10 points, but for the sake of making this a really good conversation, my man, let's start off with why did you decide to write this book? Because you are board certified, you went to Morehouse, you work in Houston, you are ER doc. Let's talk about it. Why are you getting in this lane, quote unquote? You know where I'm going with this. Why are you getting in this lane of gun ownership as an ER doc, and you know where you at?
Of gun ownership or the book writing? Which question do you want answered?
Ooh, let's do, because I'm very interested. I know so for y'all who don't know, Dr. Cedric Dark, he's been in the internet writing space for quite a long time with policy prescriptions, which in essence dumb down medical journals so that senators and your congressmen can really understand, you know, the research that goes into what we do, so that when they make policies, when they make bills, they really understand the science behind it in a way that they can understand, right? So you've been doing this for close to a decade now, if not more.
Pretty much.
Right?
Over. At this point, getting close to like 20 years. Because when I first started it, the beginnings were like 2006. We launched 2008. Technically, I retired from it after 15 years. So the website, even though we still keep it up, isn't being actively added to. But
Right.
there are, I would say, spin-offs from it. The Emergency Medicine Residents Association, EMRA, they actually do a health policy journal club every month, which is something that we started under sort of a co-publishing platform that, even though I shut my website down, they continue to run.
Well, just to say that you ain't a novice at this, right?
No.
You ain't a novice at writing. So this book right here, you've been, and I appreciate you making time for us because you've been all over the media circuits, promoting this book. The question is why did you decide to write this book, Under the Gun, right? Like,
yeah.
Give us the basis as to why you decided to write that book.
I had no desire to do so whatsoever.
Okay.
Gun policy is kind of like my second biggest interest. My first biggest interest is more like healthcare coverage, universal healthcare, that sort of thing. But in 2018, the National Rifle Association wrote this infamous tweet, which told doctors to stay in their lane. And as you mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for 15 going on 20 years, talking about evidence-based policy. Their crucial mistake was trying to tell the American College of Physicians that they shouldn't talk about it. And then they referenced a report from the Rand Corporation, which is one of these famous DC think tanks that is, if I had to put my own stamp on them, they're probably one of the most quantitatively rigorous think tanks out there in the health policy space, and use the evidence that Rand put out there in their Science of Gun Policy book to tell the ACP that they were overstepping. Lo and behold, the NRA decided to only read the one line that supported their argument and then forgot the rest of the 400-page book that was out there. So that's what I did, is I sat there and I read through that and decided to write the book, the premise of which, using the same metric that the NRA used to tell doctors to stay in their lane, for us to say, oh, wait, there are these gun policies that do work. And, those of us that are physicians, those of us that have experience, like I worked on Capitol Hill. I've worked for Kaiser Family Foundation, or KFF as it's now called. And those of us that actually treat patients every day, we have a right to talk about it. And not only do we have a right to talk about it, we actually understand how science works and not just the politicking. And so this book is a response to that.
And it's been, from what I've seen, it's been very well received. I enjoyed this book. Like I said, I got a lot of notes from it, but interested as to not just in the book, but just even how you balance. You are an admitted gun owner, right? Number two, you are ER doc, so you know what happens with guns, right? Whether
Hmm.
advertently or inadvertently. And then you've also had a close family member, a cousin, who passed away due to gun violence. Talk
Yeah.
to us about that, how you handle that in the book. How do you handle all of that stuff? Because that's a lot of intersections, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I was the person that had to write this, because I think if you take a normal person that's just focused on gun violence prevention, but they're maybe not a gun owner, a lot of the credibility that you might get otherwise goes
Yeah, they
out
don't
the
have skin in the
window,
game.
you know? I think,
Is there such
and
thing as skin in the game?
of course it is.
Okay.
I hate that terminology sometimes, but that's more of a policy perspective than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Having a family member die from a firearm, is something that is not unique to me. 1 out of 5 Americans have that happen in their family, number one. But I think it gives us a lead in. So when I'm approaching the reader, I can tell them that story to personalize it a little bit. But I think it does require like all three of those things, being someone that sees gun violence in the workplace, someone that's experienced it in family setting, but then also somebody that's not anti-gun, but as my friend Esther Chu would say, is anti-bullet hole. Like
Mm-hmm.
realistically, that's what I'm here to do, is to talk about how do we prevent bullet holes from going into people.